Alrighty, folks. It is time for Magic Sorcerer damage build. So this is an endgame trials build. This is not something that you're just going to take willy-nilly into dungeon groups or pickup groups or pug groups as they're called. This is something for groups that you trust. You know, core teams, prog groups, people that you trust with your life essentially, because you don't have wards or self-heals, so you're literally trusting them with your life. But this is just for damage. Alright, so first of all, I call up my pets so you can see all the stats and whatnot. And we're going to start by going through just the champion points for this bad boy. So the red and green don't really matter as far as damage output. You can do whatever you really want for that. I personally have it set up this way. That just helps with sustain a bit. Same with that. It's pretty basic stuff. I'm a master crafter, grandmaster crafter, so I like to have that kind of stuff. But it really isn't going to help you with the build. But the blue ones are very important. So you got to have fighting finesse. I've tried out several, if not all, of the passives in the blue tree, and this seems to be the best combination, at least out of the ones I've tried so far. So, we've got Fighting Finesse, number 1. Number 2 is Mastery at Arms. 3 is Deadly Aim. 4 is Wrathful Strikes. Now, you're also going to want as many of these just passives that don't have to be slotted as you can get, just because it's added stats, especially like the magic one, because that's going to give you a little bit more spell damage. Start putting some into the stamina now. This one right here for crit, I mean, that kind of stuff, and there's a few just scattered around that you'll just get passive buffs from. So just kind of look around, see if there's anything that's useful, but priority in the 4 that I just mentioned. So that's grouping here and some over here. But anyway, that's the CP setup. After that, I'm going to go into the gear setup. So we're going to go right here. Kinra Inferno Staff. Not going to bother explaining every little detail, but Kinra is one of the best sets in the game currently. You want a Flame enchantment. Flame deals more damage because it puts that dot for burning, the elemental effect, on there. None of the other elemental effects deal extra damage. They just have buffs that are already being applied by the rest of your team. So you want that Flame enchantment, and you want your front bar and precise to increase your overall damage with your crits, because you're going to be on your front bar most of the time. So you're going to want to have that crit buff on your front bar. Your back bar is going to be the Maelstrom Staff. You don't have to have the Perfected, but if you can get it, you know, every little bit will help. The only difference is see the second buff there for the 2 Perfected items adds 1190 offensive penetration. So that's just a little bit of penetration. You're only getting that for like a couple seconds you're on your back bar. So, I mean, right now it's not really super useful. So whether you go into Vet or just do the normal to get the Maelstrom Inferno doesn't really matter a whole lot for the build. But you want that in Infused, and that is important because that's going to buff your enchantment, which you want the weapon damage enchantment, using your weapon and spell damage. So because of the Infused, that number is bigger than it would have been otherwise. And it's going to happen more often because the Infused as well, as you see right there, increases weapon enchantment and reduces enchantment cooldown. So for head, we're going to start with the body. We want to go Slime Crawl, and I'm going in light just because on the dummy I can't sustain for shit. In content, I swear my magic never drops below 70%, but on the dummy, dude, I just cannot sustain it. I'll show you a dummy test here in a little bit, but it's irritating. So I go light just to help a little bit with the mag recovery, and then I just keep it that way because what you parse on the dummy with, you should probably use in content. Otherwise, it's not really an accurate test. Kind of defeats the whole point of testing. So what I have is what I use. I go light just to help a little bit with sustain, and you want all your body pieces in divines with a max magicka enchantment. You want to go as much into magicka, it's going to increase all your overall damage and recovery. Divines for your Mundus stone. I'll get into that a little bit later. Reliquin for the 5-piece body set, so you get the monster. That's from Wayrest on 1. That Wayrest Sewers 1. You get the Slime Claw Helm. And then for the body pieces, you have Reliquin, and Harpooners. Harpooners is one of the mythics. If you didn't know, you get it for scrying. If you don't have that, you can just go a second Slimecraft piece for the shoulders and run the legs in Reliquin and do just a 2-piece monster set, or you can run something like Zons or something else that gives you a crit bonus for the second piece to have a 2 1-piece monsters, but that's really up to you. But I find that Harpooners is the best even in content if you're good enough at evading damage. So then for the jewelry, running Kinra, because I like to have the jewelry and the weapons the same, just easier for me to figure out what I have and what I need. And all 3 jewelry pieces you want in Bloodthirsty with the spell damage enchantment on there just to help with your overall damage output. As you see, I have some pieces in purple. It's not highly important that you have everything golded out. So purple is fine, but it is, you know, like I said, a little bit better if you can get everything in the perfect trait and, you know, completely golded and perfected if you need it. But that goes over the gear. So now I'm going to go into the Mundus Stone, and attributes, as you can see, is all into Magicka. And for food, you're going to want to run the ice cream. I'll show you the food in the inventory, but that's the one you want to use. And then Thief for your Mundus Stone. And then your Tormentor and Volatile for the pets. You always just want to have those out. You don't use the abilities, it's just extra damage that doesn't cost you anything. But what was that? Oh yeah, food. So right there, the Ghastly Eyeball. That's the one you're going to want to be using, both for content and parsing, because you're going to have enough health already. I don't know, here, I'll just show you. So, the goal is to have 18k or more health, and I have 20, so that's perfect. So, next thing to go over is the abilities and general rotation. So, I run an Interrupter build. It's a really simple build to use, and it's highly effective in all content. It's a tooltip type utility build, so I mean it probably won't hit quite as hard as some other builds that are out there, but this build, if you can get good at it, will save your life in a lot of content, solo and group. You just have to tweak it a little bit depending on what you're doing, potentially, but it's a good thing to get in the habit of doing just in case, because ranged interrupts are useful in a good amount of the content in Endgame. So that's the first ability in the Destruction Staff, Morph to Crushing Shock. And you want your Crystal Fragments, that's your Dark Magic first ability, Crystal Shard Morph. And then of course you're going to want Daedric Prey, which is your Daedric Summoning. Daedric Prey is the Daedric Curse Morph. That one gives increased damage to your pets, including your Atro. And then that's your 2 pets there, and then so you're really only using those 3 abilities on your front bar. And you got those 2 pets just always active. And you got Dawnbreaker on your front bar. Now the reason that you would run Dawnbreaker on your front bar is if we go down to the Fighters Guild abilities and skill line, there's Dawnbreaker and you'll see there's Barb Trap. But if you come down here, that one, sorry, it increases your weapon and spell damage by 3% for each Fighters Guild ability slotted. So just for having that Dawnbreaker on, I get 3% more damage. Now the reason you're running that front bar instead of, say, the Storm Atronach and Daedric Summoning is, you know, some Daedric Summoning you see, you know, if you, I think it's Storm. Yeah, right there. Increase weapon and spell damage by 2% for each Sorcerer ability, where you get 3% for each Fighter's Guild ability. So if you swap that ulti out for the Dawnbreaker, you're actually getting 1% more damage. You just don't cast the Dawnbreaker, it's just there as a buff. So then your back bar is going to be Barb Trap, as you just saw in the Fighters Guild. Trap Beast Morph. Unstable Wall of Fire, this is the Wall Elements Morph in the Destruction Staff. Hurricane, now that's your Storm Calling ability. Lightning Form Morph to the Stam version Hurricane. For some reason, the Stam version is hitting harder than the Mag version for Mag characters this patch since High Isle. Which is cool for me because I honestly like the aesthetics of it a lot better and the buffs last longer, so I'm totally down with it. It's awesome, which is why I kind of tested it in the first place. Saw somebody using it and I thought, I wonder. And it worked out. So You got your barb trap, your unstable wall, and your hurricane on the back bar. And then your 2 pets, and then your storm atro is right there. Now, you may need for certain fights to swap the atro out for your destruction staff ultimate. For things like maybe Sunspire, like the fire dragon for those ad pulls, and then just swap it back for the rest of it. But it's gonna be your main ulti. You don't really cast the front bar. Just whenever you get that, you're gonna cast it. So now the rotation is real simple. I'm gonna come over and just kind of do it over here on this. Actually, I used it on the thrall here. So you're just gonna go. I'll keep the pets off so they don't attack. But you're just gonna go light attack ability every single time. So it's always going to be light attack ability, and you're gonna start trap beast, then light wall, then light hurricane, then swap bars, then light crushing shock, light curse, light crushing shock, and you're just gonna keep doing that until the timer runs out on the background. Just reapply. Pretty simple. So now I'm gonna do the full test on the dummy over there. And you can watch the rotation if you want. I'll try to call some of it out as I walk through it as I go. Well, this is going to be a full iron test. I'm going to use the potions. You want to use the Alliance Spell Drought potions. You can get them on like guild traders and things. They're around 20k a stack, where you can use your Alliance points to get the stacks of them. Stack is 200 and it's like 170k Alliance points, something like that. But anyway, so you're going to want to pop that and leave it a bit, because you're going to need to be able to sustain, so you're going to let it get around half on the timer. So since I want the dummies to be attacking this time, I'm going to make sure I hit the curse right off of them. Alright, and we're going to activate this first, and then run in, and boom, boom, and then drop the ulti, and curse, and then just start spamming the crushing shock until frags proc. If you don't frag, light crushing shocks the whole time. So you see the back bar, and then just right back into it again, curses, and then one curse at the beginning of the rotation, and then just light crushing, light crushing, light crushing, unless you get a frag. And then just reapply every second rotation. You're just going to reuse that hurricane. It's a 20-second. So each rotation is a 10-second. So every second rotation, you're going to go ahead and use that. So right now we're going to use the wind, hurricane, right back into the front bar like always. As you notice, I'm not using that front bar ulti at all. I'm waiting for that back bar to jet. I want that back bar instead of the front bar, because the atro is way more useful. And I'm going to throw in one heavy attack just to avoid a little bit of sustain. Again, don't really need that on content so much, but on this dummy for some reason I'm having to heavy attack a decent amount. Which might just be poor rotation on my end. You never really know. Could be me. But it's a pretty simple rotation. Usually you get the hang of it. You can actually get it down. A lot of it's just muscle memory. But that's really it. You're mostly just using 2 to 3 abilities on the back bar, and mostly just 2 abilities on the front bar, and that's it. And once I finish out on this test, you'll see the kind of damage. It's not really even this simple to put out. It is not bad at all. Even with the bad sustain and the heavy attacking, still pumping out a pretty decent amount of damage. And even put a high amount of damage to just swap out the curse, the Vader Prey, for the ward. And you can, that's pretty self-sustainable. You can do most content with that, no problem. Still have really high damage. So notice I'm already down below 50% on the 21 mil damage. So a good time is to try to get the tests under 5 minutes. So pretty much if you can kill it under 5 minutes, you're doing pretty decent. If you can kill it in under 4 minutes, you're doing good. If you can kill it in under 3 minutes, you're doing great. Alright, I'm gonna do a double heavy attack just to make sure I have enough magic for the execute. I don't want to accidentally run out during the end of the fight. That would be unfortunate. Always make sure you're planning out your resources. You never want to run out during the main part of the fight. So if you're having problems sustaining your resources, always keep that in mind. Alright, and again we find all three on the back bar. Alright. Now if we look down here in the text chat, I was attacking the iron there. That was from the dummies, my stupid little pets for attacking after I killed the thrall. That was the damage on the thrall. Now that was the damage on the dummy I just did. As you see, I killed it in 3 minutes 49 seconds. This is a 91, almost 92k parse. My best on this build is 97k. I do have that video up. I'm not going to be posting it on my YouTube. It is on my Xbox account though. But I was kind of going easy, and I went having pretty bad lag. But you can easily hit 90, 95 with this, as you just saw, even with quite a few mess ups. So pretty easy mode. 90k can get you into most content in the game, even the hard mode. So that's a pretty easy carry. So don't feel bad if you're not hitting 100, 200k, whatever the demand you must hit these days. So that's generally all you need to know about the Mag Sorc. I hope it helped, and see you next time.